Hey everybody, welcome back to my channel. It's Mindy here and I hope all is well in your world. Recently I've been discovering a little bit about amber fragrances. I really wanted to deep dive into this realm because I have two fragrances that I brought into my collection recently that I really enjoy. First is Baccarat Rouge 540. Everyone knows this fragrance. You either love it, a lot of people love it, or you hate it. Some people don't care for it, some people are anosmic to it. I completely understand that it's not for everybody. I also brought Tribeca into my collection that also has a pretty noticeable amber accord to it. This is a lifer fragrance for me. I absolutely adore it. It is probably in my top 5, top 3 at this point. I cannot get enough of this scent. Let me know, am I overdoing it on this one, or do you guys really enjoy it as well? I want to hear your thoughts because I'm kind of surprised by how this is rated on Fragrantica. All of the fragrances that I have here today are classified as an amber fragrance. One of them is an amber, one's an amber vanilla, and I have a couple amber spicy fragrances here as well. Now I have to say not all of these are loves at this point yet, but I want to continue to play with them and explore them. I have to say that my scent palette is still changing, it's evolving. So the fragrances that I'm going to talk about today that I don't love, I do want to hold on to for a while and really explore and get to know them because I do think that my feelings on them could change and evolve over time. First up is a fragrance by the House of Van Cleef and Arpels. This is Ombre Imperial. Now, this is a house that I've really wanted to deep dive into and explore a little bit more. I have one fragrance that I adore from this house, that is Bois, but I also recognize that probably one of their most notable fragrances is Orchidee Vanille. And I want to go back to that one and play with it a little bit because it wasn't a love at first sniff. I didn't really enjoy it the first couple months I played around with it, but I would be interested to know how I feel about it now because again, my tastes and preferences are evolving. They also have other fragrances like Rose Rouge, which I'd love to smell, Bois d'Iris or Bois d'Iris, I don't know how to say it, but that one I do enjoy. They also have Moonlight Patchouli and a couple others from the house. So far I think this is an excellent house. They have very high quality fragrances. Upon first smelling Ombre Imperial, I find that it has a sweet, gentle amber, and I do find it to be quite intoxicating. I think this is a gentle type amber that somebody who's learning about amber and just digging into it might really enjoy. In the nose structure, there's pink pepper and bergamot in the top, there's amber tonka bean, vanilla, and benzoin in the mid, and in the base you have woodsy notes. This is also said to be similar to L'Ombre de Merveilles. I don't know that scent very well by Hermès, but it's one that I definitely want to try and compare against this one. So recently I've been exploring more niche fragrances, I've been exploring more unisex fragrances. Once you explore a lot of the feminine fragrances that are out there, it opens the door to try new things, and so this was me venturing out into another unisex type fragrance. Now I have to say that in going down the unisex fragrance path, I have found some that are a little too masculine for me. Case in point would be Jazz Club by Replica. I do prefer that on my husband, though I did get a suggestion from a subscriber to layer it with something else, which I will definitely do and see if I'm more comfortable wearing it. In this case, my initial reaction was that it was a little too masculine for me. Now I have to say that that reaction seems to be in the minority. Most people feel that this one is perfectly unisex, and a lot of people actually believe it leans feminine. So I have to say, in the case of Bois Dore, that was another fragrance by the same house that I found to be too masculine at the beginning. I actually got to know the fragrance quite a bit and found that I adored it on my skin. So in this case, I felt like it may lean a little masculine because of that subtle spiciness that's in here. But as I play with it a little bit more, I do feel more and more like this is perfectly unisex and I would feel comfortable wearing it. Right now, I consider this fragrance to be about a 7.5 out of 10. It is a beautiful, easygoing amber fragrance that I think a lot of people are going to enjoy. It's one that I want to get to know more, grow a little bit more accustomed to, but I do believe this could grow more into a love over time. Again, this fragrance is Ombre Imperial by Van Cleef and Arpels. Next up is a fragrance by the House of Mercedes-Benz, another amber fragrance. This is Club Black. Now this is a fragrance that was never on my radar. I actually heard about this fragrance first from Christine from the Perfume Nest. Her channel convinced me that I had to check this fragrance out. Some of the key takeaways I have from her video is that this fragrance is one of the best bangs for your buck when it comes to vanilla perfumes, that she's loved this one for over a year, and that despite the fact that this is marketed towards men, it is a very unisex fragrance. After hearing that, I definitely wanted to deep dive into this perfume and learn a little bit more about it. I went to Fragrantica, read tons and tons of reviews, saw that this one was rated a 4.52 out of 5, and really wanted to get my nose on it. The other thing that set me over the edge with this one is that it was compared to Cologne of the Missions, one of the vanilla fragrances that I really like but has been discontinued. Upon opening this one, playing with this one, testing it out on my skin, I immediately picked up the similarities that people had referenced in the scent profile to Cologne of the Missions. The main accords for this fragrance are spot on. Amber, vanilla, balsamic, it's warm, spicy, woody, smoky, powdery. All of those things deeply resonated with me. One other thing that I noticed about this one, before I even saw anyone else mention it, is that this did remind me a little bit of Cassablanca by the House of Swiss Arabian. I personally find this to be significantly better than Cassablanca in my humble opinion. Of course, that is an opinion only. I know that there is a great deal of love for Cassablanca, but for me, there was something about it that I found to be too sharp. I don't know if it's the sharp fruitiness that's in there. I don't know if it's the apples or the grapes or the woodsy notes. There's something in Cassablanca that I just find to be sharp, and to me, it turns out being a little bit off-putting on my skin. With this, I get a slight similarity to Cassablanca, but not in the way that I dislike. It's something that I can actually handle in this fragrance, that I kind of enjoy a little bit here, whereas Cassablanca was just a little bit over the top for me. So if you do like Cassablanca, you thought it was a good fragrance, but there was just something cloying to you about it, or something that weighed on you that you didn't like, I do suggest trying this one out because you may really like this fragrance. I'll echo what Christine said in her review. I definitely find this to be perfectly unisex. I think anyone can wear this fragrance. It's a beautiful, warm, smoky, cozy, comforting vanilla fragrance. I really enjoy this one, and at this point I would probably rate this one an 8 out of 10. Enjoying the perfume, will continue to play with it over time, but think that a lot of people would find this to be a great vanilla fragrance as well. Again, this is Mercedes-Benz Club Black. Next up is yet another fragrance that falls into the YouTube Made Me Buy It category. This is Fleur Universelle by Lalique. Now this is a fragrance that I first learned about on Demi Rawlings' channel. She's spoken about this one a couple times, I think, so if you're interested in getting additional context or learning a little bit more about this one, I do recommend going back and watching her reviews. This is another one that I find to be warm. I find it to be spicy. I'm pulling out a lot of the same notes that other people mentioned pulling out, which is the rum, there's cinnamon, there's myrrh in here. There is a floral aspect. It's called Fleur Universelle, but to be honest with you, that floral note seems to be quite subtle to my nose. The floral in here is Immortelle. I'm not overly familiar with that note, so I can't tell you exactly what it smells like, but what I will say is that the floral aspect of this perfume does seem to be quite toned down, and it's subtle. To be honest with you, I'm not exactly sure how I'm feeling about this fragrance just yet. Referring to what some other people have said about this one, they've said it's rich, it's spicy, it's deep, it's smoky. There are very solid reviews on this fragrance. People have called it intoxicating, it's boozy, it's called a grown-up gourmand. People have said it's resinous, and it has a pleasurable sweetness. This fragrance actually makes me think of going to a spice rack and putting all the spices in a bowl, and that would be the scent that you get from this fragrance. It's just a lot of spiciness, a lot of cinnamon that I really do enjoy in fragrances, but when I'm craving something in this vein, I think I may be more inclined to reach for something like Angel Share, the sample that I have from Kilian, or the Duo fragrance clone that I have, Angelic Elixir. Those tend to have maybe a little bit more sweetness, a little bit more of a well-rounded scent profile that I might prefer to this one. I don't want to make assumptions just yet because I just am getting to know this one, and I do think I have to give it a fair shot. I absolutely think it is nice. But again, I just don't know how inclined I will be to reach for this one over others in my collection. This feels like it's a beautifully done, grown-up amber type fragrance. I do want to continue to play around with this one because my tastes and preferences are changing, they're evolving. I do want to understand it a little bit more. This comes in a beautiful coffret. This is very well done presentation. If you're looking for something that screams elegant, classy, sophistication, unisex, this is definitely one to try out. At this point, I probably rate it a 6.5 out of 10. It's probably a little bit harsh, but I just don't find myself craving this scent profile yet. This is Fleur Universelle by the House of Lalique. Alright, this last fragrance that I have here is yet another YouTube made me test, I guess. And once I did test, it became a YouTube made me buy. This is Note Vanille by the House of Micallef. This is one that I spoke about recently on a This Not That Epic Showdown. I said that I really enjoyed the boozy vanilla scent profile in this perfume, and I absolutely do. I was under the impression that this was not available yet, that they're re-releasing it in February, but I did happen to notice that they had this available on the Lucky Scent website, and it made me move forward with a full bottle because I just couldn't imagine not having this in my collection. I am interested to see with the new re-release what the bottle looks like, if they make any changes to the fragrance, but I am very happy to now have this in my collection. Now I have to say that playing with my sample of this fragrance, it was only a 1 milliliter and it's basically gone at this point, did have me a little bit conflicted. When I was playing with that sample, I did happen to notice upon application that I was picking up a little bit of a body odor vibe. I know that sounds crazy. Other people mentioned feeling the same thing. My guess is that maybe that's because of the boozy notes that are in here. There's rum, there's cognac as well. Other notes are amber, sandalwood, vanilla, floral notes, jasmine. I really don't know if the floral notes are a little bit indolic like they say about jasmine. I can't be sure, but that scent profile does dissipate. It did go away when I was playing with my sample after around 5 to 7 minutes. Now that I'm a little bit more acclimated to the scent profile of Note Vanille, I do have a full bottle. I'm not really picking up that body odor scent profile anymore. It was only from my sample, and I'm not quite sure why that is. Maybe I'm more familiar with the scent profile. I really don't know. Now I have to say, once I got my full bottle, I did feel like this was slightly different from the 1 milliliter sample that I have. I don't even know if that's possible. It is weighing on my mind a little bit. I wasn't picking up the body odor in this one, so that did make me question if I have the same exact fragrance, but I also sort of felt like my full bottle lacked a slight bit of that booziness, a slight bit of the brightness that I got from my sample, and it felt like my sample had a little bit less spiciness than it is in this fragrance, or maybe it's a little bit less of a citrusy vibe. Now, that being said, this does dry down almost exactly to the sample that I had, so I'm probably jumping to conclusions. I'm probably imagining something in my head, but a piece of me did wonder if maybe the sample that I got was from the 2007 version of Note Vanille, and this may be one of the newer releases. Maybe they did a reformulation. I don't really know. I'm getting in my head here, and I'm probably just jumping to conclusions like I said before. I can't really find anything indicating that this has been reformulated, just that they've changed the bottle over time, so it's hard for me to say. I am curious from you guys if you were really familiar with the 2007 release, the older bottle of this fragrance. Have you tried the new version? Has it smelled any different to you? I do think as they dry down, like I said, it is almost identical. It is probably identical. I'm probably just really trying to get used to the scent profile, and having a 1 milliliter sample can be a little bit difficult. It's not like you can spray it on your body. So when I did get the full bottle, I was able to play with this on a different level than I could with that sample, and that also may be what the difference is between what I picked up here and from that sample. Please let me know if you have any familiarity with this one, if you've played around with this in the past, if this is a love of yours, if you're just getting to know it, if you want to get to know it. I want to hear from you. This one is Note Vanille by the House of Micallef. One last mention is that I have a couple other amber fragrances that I'm getting to know this week. I do have them in mini bottle form. Those fragrances are Ombre 114 by Histoires, as well as Essence No. 3 Ambre by the House of Elisab. I'm still getting to know those, but I'll definitely update you guys in a future video on my thoughts on them as well. If you guys enjoyed this amber fragrance video, please go ahead and give it a thumbs up and consider subscribing to my channel. I hope you guys have an amazing weekend. I hope you have a lot to be grateful and thankful for. And until next time, I'll see you soon.